He called me selfish. He ruined our friend reunion. And now he's blaming me for his failed life? What did I do to deserve this? Throwaway. For context, I, 23F, left the country 2 years ago just after college graduation. I also broke up with my ex, 24M, because I didn't want to do long distance and our beliefs didn't align anymore. We both come from the same culture and dated throughout college, but while I wanted to move abroad and study further, considering the safety of women in my home country, his plans were that he would stay and take care of his family. We were both the eldest children of the family. Neither of us was technically willing to adjust. However, what made me dump him was that he just turned into a different person in the last months of the relationship. He wanted me to act like a traditional woman if we were to have a proper family. He would constantly say things like, "Women have been historically adjusting for their loved ones, and can you say every single woman was unhappy about it? And, why are you so selfish? Does our future not matter to you? Do you trust me enough to take care of you?" And whatnot. Heck, he even got his mom and sister to call me and tell me if I was ready for them to talk to my parents about marriage. Luckily, my dad handled it because rejecting matches, especially if the couple dated beforehand, would cause a scandal in my community. It felt like I was the one who had to sacrifice my happiness at the first place because of tradition. I also didn't grow up in a conservative family like him, and my parents told me to get the hell out of the relationship. I broke up with him, and our friend groups were merged, but everyone decided not to take sides, so there was no drama. I have been single for the last 2 years and have traveled a lot, and I plan to get residency after a few years here. This was the first time I went back home after 2 years because my cousin just had a kid. I did not intend to see or call my ex, but I met up with my college friends, and most of them, including my ex, live in my hometown, so I knew, to see all my friends, I had to see him. It was so awkward, but we were both silent and just nodded at each other, and I thought that would be it. But one of his friends started talking about his fiance, and he is a bit of an asshole, so he said, "OP, I'm so glad you left him, ex, behind because you didn't want to be happy in our traditional families. Now another will get to experience the real meaning of family, joint Indian family." I just laughed it off awkwardly, and a couple of people shushed him. My close friends were very embarrassed and promised that both my ex and that guy would not be invited again. But my ex left me a text. He got a second number on how his friend was just defending him because I was flaunting my new life when I obviously wanted my ex to be hurt by it, that I dumped him for just a better degree. I told him this was why I left you and blocked him. The thing is, I have been guilty about it for the last 2 years, and while I know I did the right thing for my career, maybe I should have tried not to hurt his feelings in such a direct way. I feel horrible for his fiancée, as both of them know he doesn't love her, arranged match, and I feel had I had a better approach, maybe another person wouldn't have added to the mix. I feel like I was a heartless person, as my ex says, in dumping as I did, just because of our different beliefs. Aita? Update 1. Okay, so I didn't expect things to blow up, but apparently, blocking my ex didn't end the situation. A couple of days after the meetup, one of our mutual friends, let's call her Rhea, called me. She sounded nervous, like she wasn't sure if she should even be telling me anything, but she said, "Hey, I think you need to know this." Apparently, after I blocked my ex, he started venting to a bunch of mutual friends about how I ruined his life. According to Rhea, he was saying stuff like I broke his trust, abandoned him when he needed me, and made him feel like he wasn't good enough. He also claimed I was arrogant for flaunting my life abroad, even though all I did was talk about my job when someone asked me how I was doing. It didn't stop there, though. Rhea told me that his fiancé, yes, the one I feel sorry for, got dragged into this. My ex apparently told her I was the love of his life and he only agreed to the arranged match because I betrayed him. Let me repeat that. He straight up told the woman he's supposed to marry that he's still hung up on me. She's understandably upset and has been talking to her family about calling off the engagement. Rhea said she only found out because she overheard him arguing with his fiancé on the phone after our meetup. At this point, I felt sick. Like, yeah, I broke up with him, but it's been 2 years. 2 whole years. I get being bitter, but this is some next level stuff. What's worse is that his friends are split on who to blame. Some of them think I was harsh for leaving him when he was willing to compromise by letting me be a housewife with a master's degree. Others are telling him to grow up and move on because he's clearly projecting his own unhappiness onto me. But here's the kicker. Ria also told me something I didn't expect. His mom apparently pressured him into the engagement because she thought it would cure him of his lingering feelings for me. According to Ria, his family believes that once he's married and has kids, he'll forget all about me. Like, what? They think an entire marriage is the cure for heartbreak? I don't even know what to say to that. I decided to call my parents to get their advice because this whole thing was spiraling out of control. My mom was furious, not at me, but at the situation. She told me I did the right thing by blocking him and that his feelings are no longer my responsibility. My dad, who's usually calm and diplomatic, actually said, "If he's still crying about this after 2 years, that's his problem, not yours." I thought that was the end of it, but nope, it gets worse. The next day, I got a message from an unknown number. I shouldn't have opened it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was my ex's fiance. She was polite but clearly stressed. She asked me if I was still in love with him because, in her words, "He can't stop talking about you." I was floored. I told her the truth, that I wasn't in love with him, that I blocked him because he was being toxic, and that I broke up with him because our values didn't align. She thanked me, but didn't say much else. Later, Ria updated me again. Apparently, the fiancé confronted my ex and told him she wasn't going to marry someone who was still hung up on his ex. She's now refusing to move forward with the engagement unless he proves he's over me. How does one even prove that? I don't know, but it's not my problem. At this point, I thought, okay, surely this is the end of it, right? Wrong. My ex's mom decided to step in. She called my mom to complain that I was interfering in their family's affairs. My mom, bless her, shut her down immediately. She told her, "Your son is the one who can't move on. My daughter has nothing to do with this." My mom also told her to stop contacting me because I have no intention of being dragged into this mess. Now, I'm sitting here wondering how this all escalated so quickly. I feel bad for the fiancé because she didn't sign up for this drama, but at the same time, I can't fix this for her. It's not like I can magically make my ex stop obsessing over me. I'm also starting to realize that maybe his behavior during our relationship wasn't just about cultural differences. It seems like he has some serious issues with control and entitlement. I don't regret leaving him, but I do regret that other people are getting hurt because of this mess. Ria says the friend group is trying to distance themselves from him because he's making everything awkward. But it's hard when they've all known each other for years. I told her I appreciate her keeping me in the loop, but I really don't want to be involved anymore. I just want to go back to my life and leave this drama behind. That's where things stand for now. I'm hoping this is the last of it, but knowing my ex, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more. If anything else happens, I'll update again. Update 2. So I thought things couldn't possibly get messier, but apparently, I underestimated just how deep my ex and his family are willing to dig this hole. After the whole fiancé situation blew up, I figured they'd finally let it go, but nope. Instead, things took a turn I absolutely did not see coming. A few days after the last update, Ria sent me a voice note. She sounded panicked and said, "You're not going to believe this, but your ex's family has started some wild rumor about you." At first, I thought she was joking or exaggerating, but no. Apparently, his mom has been going around telling mutuals and even random aunties in the community that I broke off the engagement. You read that right. She's telling people that I somehow intervened and convinced the fiancé to dump my ex because I'm still in love with him. I was furious. Like what? I didn't even know the fiancé existed until recently, and now I'm being blamed for their relationship falling apart? It's such a ridiculous claim, but in our culture, these things can spiral out of control so fast. People love gossip, and once a story like this starts spreading, it's hard to stop it. I asked Ria if she could find out more, and she said she'd try, but she warned me that it was getting bad. The next day, I got a call from one of my aunts. She's pretty chill compared to most relatives, so I didn't expect her to bring up anything dramatic. But guess what? She asked me point blank if I was trying to get back together with my ex. I almost dropped my phone. I told her no, absolutely not, and explained the real story, but she sounded skeptical. She said, "Well, his mom is saying you've been messaging him and causing trouble. People are talking." I could feel my blood boiling. Messaging him? I blocked the guy. How am I the one causing trouble? After that call, I knew I had to get ahead of this before it spiraled even more. I called my parents and told them everything. My mom was livid. She said, "This is exactly why we told you to stay away from people like that. They'll drag you down to their level." My dad, ever the voice of reason, said we should wait it out and let the truth come out naturally. But I knew that wasn't going to work. In situations like this, silence is often seen as guilt. Meanwhile, Ria called me again with another bombshell. The fiancé officially called off the engagement. Apparently, she had a long conversation with her family and decided she couldn't marry someone who was still obsessed with his ex. Good for her, honestly. She deserves better. But now, my ex's mom is using that as more evidence that I'm the problem. She's telling everyone that the fiancé dumped him because I manipulated her into thinking he was still in love with me. The mental gymnastics are truly Olympic level at this point. What made it worse was that some people actually believed her. I started getting passive-aggressive messages from random mutuals like, "Wow, I didn't know you were still hung up on him after all this time." And, "It's really sad to see you interfering in someone else's happiness." I tried ignoring it, but it was eating away at me. I've spent 2 years building a life for myself, and now I'm being dragged through the mud because my ex and his family can't handle their own issues. At this point, I decided enough was enough. I reached out to Ria and a couple of other mutual friends I still trust, and we made a group call to clear the air. I told them everything, from the breakup to the recent drama, and asked them to help shut down these rumors. They were super supportive and promised to back me up, but they also warned me that his mom is stubborn and probably won't let this go easily. To make things even weirder, my ex texted me again. Yes, even after being blocked, he somehow found another way to contact me. He sent this long, rambling message about how he's sorry for everything, but also accused me of ruining his chance at happiness. He said, "I know you don't love me anymore, but you could have at least respected our history enough to stay out of my life." I didn't respond. I couldn't. What was I even supposed to say to that? I just blocked the number again. Ria later told me that he's been spiraling ever since the engagement was called off. He's apparently been showing up uninvited to group hangouts, trying to get people to take his side. Some of the group is starting to distance themselves from him because it's just too much drama, but a few are still enabling him. One of them even told him that if she came back once, she might come back again. Which, what? I didn't come back in the first place. I just visited my family for a few weeks. Now, I'm debating whether I should just go no contact with the entire group, including Ria. As much as I appreciate her keeping me updated, it's starting to feel like staying connected to these people is just keeping me tethered to this mess. My parents are urging me to cut ties and focus on my own life, but part of me feels like if I walk away now, I'm letting his family win by letting them control the narrative. That's where things stand right now. I'm trying to focus on work and ignore the noise, but it's hard when people keep messaging me about this nonsense. I really just want this to be over. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that some people will go to incredible lengths to avoid taking accountability for their own actions. Update 3. All right, so this is the last update because honestly, I need to close the book on this whole mess. After everything that happened, I was trying to stay in my lane, mind my business, and let the chaos die down. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But this time, things took a turn that even I couldn't have predicted. A couple of weeks after the fiancé officially called off the engagement, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. At first I ignored it, but then curiosity got the better of me. I know. It wasn't my ex, thankfully. It was the ex-fiancé. She wrote this long, heartfelt message thanking me. She said that talking to me gave her the push she needed to stand up for herself and make a decision she'd been scared to make. She told me she'd always felt like my ex's family was forcing her into something she didn't want, but it wasn't until everything blew up that she realized she had a choice. She also said something that completely threw me off. My ex's mom was trying to get her to reconsider the engagement by offering to adjust the terms. Apparently, the adjustment included giving her more freedom if she helped the family keep up appearances and fix my ex. This poor girl was literally being treated like some kind of emotional babysitter. She told me she had no intention of going back, and honestly, good for her. She deserves so much better than to be stuck in that mess. After this, I decided to fully cut off everyone involved. I left the group chats, unfollowed people on social media, and stopped answering messages from mutuals who wanted to hear my side of the story. It was freeing, but of course, things didn't just stop there. My mom got another call from my ex's mom, who accused me of ruining two families. My mom wasn't having it. She straight up told her, "Your son's inability to move on is not my daughter's responsibility," and hung up. She told me later that she's never been angrier about anything in her life, and honestly, I believe her. Then came the final blow. I found out from Rhea. Yeah, I know, I said I was cutting ties, but she's been a real one through all of this. That my ex has decided to take a break from the friend group. Apparently, he's been telling people that he needs time to heal and rebuild his confidence. Which, fine, fair enough, but the wild part is that he's still trying to spin this whole situation as me betraying him. According to Rhea, he's been saying stuff like, if she had just communicated better, none of this would have happened. Sure, dude. It's my fault you can't move on after 2 years. Makes total sense. And what really sealed the deal for me, though, was hearing about what happened at his family's latest gathering. My ex's mom apparently tried to paint me as some kind of villain to their extended family, but one of the aunts wasn't having it. She stood up and said, maybe if you didn't push him into an engagement he wasn't ready for, none of this would have happened. According to Rhea, the room went dead silent after that. It seems like even his family is starting to realize that this isn't my problem. It's his. So here's where I'm at now. I'm back in my country of residence, fully focused on my job and my plans for the future. I've blocked every possible way my ex or his family could contact me, and I've made it clear to the few mutuals I'm still in touch with that I don't want to hear about him anymore. It's been a roller coaster, but I've learned some important things about myself through all of this. 1, I made the right decision 2 years ago, even if it wasn't easy. 2, other people's inability to handle their emotions is not my burden to carry. And 3, sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and let people deal with the mess they've created. I'm done feeling guilty for putting my happiness first. I'm done worrying about what people in my community think of me. And I'm especially done with anyone who thinks it's okay to treat women like their lives are secondary to tradition or family expectations. If my ex or his family wants to keep dragging my name through the mud, that's on them. I've got bigger and better things to focus on, and I refuse to let their drama weigh me down anymore. This is the end of it for me. Thanks to everyone who supported me and reminded me that I'm not crazy for choosing myself. It feels good to finally close this chapter,